Hello dear friends, welcome back. This is Indus Lex and today we are going to discuss what are the different aspects or we can say facets of matrimonial cases, how we can defend ourselves in these type of cases. Dear friend, marriage is a sacrosanct in Hindu society and by some way the dowry become a minac for our society, so the legislature passed several laws such as Dowry Prohibition Act, in which Section 3 punishes those who give the dowry, and Section 4 makes provision for punishing those people who demands dowry. Further, in IPC, which is now replaced by the Bharatiya Nyay Sanhita BNS, Section 498A IPC punishes those who do the cruelty against women in the name of dowry, and that equivalent section in BNS is Section 85. Apart from Section 3 and 4 of Dowry Prohibition Act, Section 498A, that is cruelty in the name of demanding dowry, Section 304B IPC, it is made for punishment when a woman died within the period of 7 years in the matrimonial house. Then Section 113B of Indian Evidence Act makes a presumption that if a woman die in his matrimonial house within the period of 7 years of marriage, then court shall presume that this death is due to dowry. If soon before death that woman is subject to the cruelty, then court will presume that that cruelty is because of demand of dowry. It is a most draconian provision 304B, but on other aspect is there a woman who believe in the family of his husband, in his lost families, and got dead in the matrimonial house, and she was subjected to the cruelty as soon before her death, then this section attract to him. It is a rare cases, but generally what we face, the prosecution under section 498A IPC, which is section 85 BNS, 3 by 4 Dowry Prohibition Act, these three sections, the maximum punishment in 498A is 3 years. For giving dowry, the punishment is up to 5 years. And for demanding dowry, again, the punishment is up to 3 years. All are non-cognizable offense, all are cognizable offense and non-bailable offense, but after the guidelines issued by the Honorable Supreme Court in Satyendra Kumar Antil versus CBI, that it is fall into the category A offenses, which is punishable by less than 7 years of imprisonment. So the police officers in earlier days, when FIR is lodged under these acts, police arrest those persons. But nowadays a simple question is whether when an FIR is registered under this section, that is 498A or 85 BNS, police is going to arrest the named accused. Answer is no. Now police has no powers to arrest any accused person in the matrimonial disputes. Police has power to arrest the named accused, or of whom they think that a person should be prosecuted as accused in the case, only when there is a case of dowry death. If woman is alive, then 498A 3 by 4 Dowry Prohibition Act, in this section arrest is completely barred by the legislature, not by the legislature but by the judiciary itself. In Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar and Satyendra Kumar Antil versus CBI, Honorable Court, Honorable Supreme Court give a strict guidelines that accused shall not be arrested by the police or by the investigating officer if they accused are participating into the investigation. So if a person thinks that when the FIR will be lodged under this section, then they got arrested, answer is no. You will not get arrested, and even I will explain that how you will be protected for your whole life in these cases. The cases relating to matrimonial dispute, if we are talking about or extend our discussion only to that whether my personal liberty is at the stake, answer is no. In these cases, you or your family member will not go behind the bar in any situation, any worse situation. I will tell you the reason why I am saying it, but now come on another aspect of the matrimonial cases. Another aspect is, first, the criminal prosecution. Second is, an application can be moved by the woman before the magistrate under Act of Domestic Violence Act. If a woman asserting that she is facing violence in her matrimonial house, and for prayer for a, we can say, the monetary maintenance, or for prevention or direction to the other house members against whom she want to take action that she will not be harassed in the matrimonial house, or other relief is that she want to live with her husband in some separate arrangement, she can move an application under Domestic Violence Act. So the first case is criminal prosecution, in which maximum punishment is 3 years of imprisonment. Second case is domestic violence, application under Domestic Violence Act, section 12. Actually, section 12 of the Domestic Violence Act, Prevention of Domestic Violence Act, make provision that a woman who is subjected to the cruelty can move an application before the competent jurisdictional magistrate and get the order. Now the third case is relating to the maintenance directly, and it is provided into the Criminal Procedure Code and now the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita. In a Criminal Procedure Code, it is 125 CRPC, it is a well famous section, and in Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, it is section 144 B and SS, section 144. This is the most tougher part to face and to win the case when you are husband. Mentally, FIR prosecution under a criminal case is very tough to face. But when it is a matrimonial dispute, I will tell you how you can easily protect yourself. But when matters come to the maintenance of your legally wedded wife, then under section 125 CRPC or section 144 BNSS, it is very tough to face, because court is going to decide the petition, or we can say the application of the maintenance, on the basis of your income and on the basis of presumption that, look, there is no divorce by the competent court. So that lady who moved this application is your legally wedded wife, and in this case you have to give maintenance, and maintenance up to the limit of one third of your earning, irrespective of what she is earning. Approximately one third of your earning would be going to be decided in her favor. Now the last section which can use by either of the spouse, it may be husband or wife, can move an application under section 13 of Hindu Marriage Act. This application is for filing petition of divorce. You can take divorce on several grounds including adultery. If you are claiming that your partner, your opposite party is in the adultery, it is a good ground for you to take the divorce from your partner. Secondly, you can claim that my partner continuously done cruelty against me. Then on the ground of cruelty, you can move an application for the divorce. Further, desertion is also a ground. When desertion is more than 2 years, then it is a good ground for the divorce. And some other ground which may be taken for the specific cases, like a conversion, if your spouse is converted to another religion, if he is of unsound mind, if he is become sage or renounce this word, then these are the specific ground. But the major ground are adultery, cruelty and desertion of more than 2 years. You can take specific ground in your petition and move an application for divorce. Under section 13b, a divorce can be filed by mutual consent, that if both parties are agree that we have to separate with each other, then they may file these application. So dear friend, what I have discussed that when we discuss or when we talk about the matrimonial cases, it has four facets. First is a criminal prosecution under section 85 BNSS or 498 AIPC. Second one is maintenance case under section 125 CRPC and now 140 section 144 BNSS. Third one is domestic violence case, that is application moved before the magistrate under section 12. And fourth one is divorce case. And apart from that, for the strategic point of view, to prove the desertion legally, sometime we also move the application of section 9 for the restitution of conjugal rights. This application can be moved either spouse, it may be husband or it may be wife. This application is for the restoration of conjugal right, that if your husband is not living with you or your wife is not living with you, vice versa, you can move an application before the competent court under section 9 and pray for the restoration of conjugal rights. So these are the cases which you have to deal when there is a dispute between the husband and wife. Now come on the criminal case. I tell you earlier that in the criminal case which is relating to the matrimonial dispute, or directly we can say which is lodged under section 498 AIPC or section 85 BNSS along with other sections, you will not go to jail for a single day. You have several remedy, and during this process your matter is going to be settled. It will take times, depends on how much caliber your opposite party has, what intentions she has, she want to settle or not, or they are deliberately want to prosecute you for the purpose of harassment. These are the some factors which play roles to decide how much time your prosecution will be. But one thing is clear, that you will not go in jail for a single day, nor your family member will go into the jail for a single day. And even what I am going to tell you, or what I am going to suggest you, you no need to take bail from the district court for very long or substantial period. How it would be? Firstly, dear friend, you have to understand that in these provisions, punishment is maximum 3 years of imprisonment. Then police is not going to arrest you. So be calm. If FIR is registered under section 498A, be sure that you or your family member will not be arrested by the police. So you have to tell your version to the police, like tell your version whatever you want. Even you can choose not to say anything. Police officer will do all the formality, record the statement of the victim and also of the accused, make the spot memo where the incident took place according to the FIR, and after completing the investigation he will submit the charge sheet. Sometimes it happens that if the girl's family belongs to some political power or some authoritarian power they have, then they try to misuse the law illegally. They compel the police officer to misbehave with your family. So if you wish, or you can afford, if you can afford, you can challenge this FIR before the Honorable High Court of competent jurisdiction under section 226 of the Indian Constitution of India. Any FIR can be challenged into the High Court. Any FIR you can challenge. So if you believe that your prosecution is completely abuse of process of law, it involves the malicious prosecution, it only purpose is to harass, it has no resemblance with the truth, you can challenge the FIR. In a matrimonial cases, when FIR is challenged, matter sent to the mediation. Remember, when FIR is lodged at police station, even police try to mediate the matter. When FIR is lodged and come before the court, then court also try to mediate, that the magistrate, that the session court where the magistrate is looking your case, that court also try to settle your matter. That mediation is something different, which is and the mediation offered by the high courts are at different footing. What I am telling you, that when FIR is lodged and investigation is completed, a charge sheet is filed by the police into the court. FIR is stage 1. After completion of investigation, when charge sheet is filed before the competent court and competent magistrate has taken the cognizance that yes, whatever material is collected by the investigating officer during the investigation is sufficient to proceed under the section in which charge sheet is filed, that is section 498A or section 85 BNSS, as our case may be, they take cognizance that yes, this matter come before me, I found that evidence is sufficient to proceed against the accused, and then he summoned the accused. This is stage 2. When first time case is come before the competent magistrate, and magistrate took the cognizance and summoned the accused. Third stage will come when on the summon, when magistrate took the cognizance on the charge sheet and summoned the accused, on that summon, when accused appear before the court, he will move the bail application. And always remember, in the light of Satyendra Kumar Antil versus CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation, you and your family members against whom the prosecution of 498A or Section 85 BNS is lodged, you will get the bail as your right after this judgment. Court will grant you bail within hours of filing your bail application. The court will not take you or any of your family members, despite of their roles, how much heinous roles they are alleged in the FIR. Court will grant you bail on the same day without taking you into the custody. So when you appeared before the court on the summoning, court will grant you the bail and ask you that be present on particular date for framing of charge. Before framing of charge, you can move an application. This is the first time you can, whatever you write before the court, it has some evidentiary value. Your saying is come on the record that this is your version. It is the first time. The discharge stage is the first stage when there is any provision where factual things can be disputed by the accused. Nowhere in a criminal prosecution, from lodging of FIR till the conclusion of investigation, then filing of charge sheet, then summoning of accused has any right to say. Thanks to BNSS, that in a complaint cases which filed before the magistrate directly, there is now a provision that court may issue a notice to the prospective accused. Otherwise, accused has no right to say anything before this stage, that is the stage 3rd, framing of charge. Court will fix the date for framing of charge, and you have the opportunity to move an application showing your innocence and pray for discharge from this case. Remember the Chief Minister of Delhi, Shri Arvind Kejriwal case, a serious allegation against him. He faced jail, but what happened? On this 3rd stage, before framing of charge, upon perusal of discharge application, court finds that there is not a sufficient material present to proceed against the Chief Minister. So he discharged him. It is not a acquittal. It is at the different footing where you pray for discharge, that look, this is the case brought before me and this is my version. There is no prima facie material which disclose my involvement in the commission of offence, or this offence is completely sheer abuse of process of law, or it is due to malicious prosecution. This is the evidence, and if the court satisfy, then court will discharge you. This is the 3rd stage. The difference between stage 2 and stage 3 is that when you received the summon from the court when court took cognizance on the charge sheet and summoned the accused. At till this stage you are not on bail, or even if you are on bail, at least you have opportunity to travel at this extent. Suppose that if FIR is lodged, you may file or challenge that FIR and get a stay order on arrest. So you are not on bail, then investigation is completed. After investigation is completed, that the charge sheet is filed before the magistrate court, and magistrate court took cognizance and summoned the accused. Maybe accused again challenge the whole criminal proceeding along with cognizance and summoning order. Again, if he got stayed from the court, he is not on bail. But on the third stage, when charge is going to be made against the accused, he has to appear before the court taking bail and then move a discharge application. So you can also bypass this bail procedure, requesting to the High Court that let me allow to move an application through counsel. So you have three stages where you can challenge your prosecution. First stage is before the High Court, directly challenging the FIR. The matter, if there is a husband is a party, then matter is going to be mediation. Second, when charge sheet is completed and competent jurisdictional magistrate has taken cognizance on that charge sheet and summoned the accused, that that the cognizance and summoning order along with entire criminal procedure will be challenged before the High Court. Third, when you move and discharge application and after perusing your discharge application, if magistrate is not satisfied, that he ordered that I am rejecting this discharge application and fix the date for framing of charge, you may challenge that discharge application, rejection of that discharge application before the High Court. In all these three stages, whenever you come before the High Court will try to mediate the matter and send the matter to the mediation center. It may be High Court may fix some amount as a mediation charge and some amount for travel and allowances given to the opposite party. It depends upon, the amount depends upon judge to judge. You can't say how much money the court will going to ask you to deposit. Further, it depends upon fact to fact, because what is the earning capacity of Mr. A is not equated with the earning capacity of Mr. B. So apart from the deposited amount which court will ask to you, whenever you come before before the High Court in these matrimonial disputes, your matter will be stayed by this honorable court on the cost of some money which will be given as for the travel allowances to the opposite party and some expenses to the mediation center. Interestingly, suppose that a maintenance order is passed against you and you have not paid the maintenance order due to some circumstances, and if the execution proceeding is against you, a warrant is issued against you, even that warrant will be stayed by the court on depositing some money for the mediation. So whatever the stage will be, irrespective of that, whenever you come before the court, High Court will try to protect you, send the matter into the mediation center. And the pendency in the High Court is a very use. Once a matter is sent to the mediation center and you got the stay order, that stay order will be for at least 2 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, it will be vacated when the court found that you are misusing the stay order or not deliberately appearing before the court, not interested in deciding the matter. Otherwise, till the disposal of your petition into the before the high court, your stay order will be there. What is my suggestion is that when after the charge sheet you should approach the high court for quashing of criminal proceeding. If you are interested or if you can afford, you should challenge the FIR into the FIR, challenge the prosecution case at the FIR stage itself. But what happen is that, suppose that if you challenge the first information report on basis of malicious prosecution, firstly the court is not going to deal it on merit of the case, because you are the husband or your family members. Court will send the matter to the mediation. Suppose you, on the basis of mediation, you got the stay order, or even on merit if you got the stay order, what happened that the state will file the counter affidavit, and then you will file the rejoinder affidavit, then the final hearing will take place, and then court will decide whether to quash the FIR or not. In meantime, what happened, once you got the stay order, stay of arrest, and in that case the police officer, after getting information that you got the stay order, he will take the order from you, record your statement and file the charge sheet. So before writing of the petition, that exchange of affidavits between the state, between the informant and the petitioner, that writ petition become infructuous. Not in term of Honorable Supreme Court that mere filing of charge sheet not make the writ petition infructuous, but what actually practically is that you have now alternate remedy, because when the charge sheet is filed, magistrate has taken cognizance and summoned the accused, or new we can say the new facet come into the play, that the cognizance order is against you, charge sheet is against you, you challenged at that time the FIR. So your remedy is that you can amend that, you can amend your prayer, that now you can quash the charge sheet also. And further, the cognizance order cannot be quashed, or judicial order cannot be quashed into the writ jurisdiction. Writ jurisdiction is made for the state. Whatever right we have, legal or fundamental right, writ is made for execution of those fundamental rights and legal rights against state, not against the judicial body. So the cognizance order is a judicial order, and it should be challenged in other proceeding, other competent jurisdictional proceedings, such as inherent jurisdiction, section 482 CRPC, earlier known. So it is easier for you that when you challenge the FIR, you got stay order from the by way of mediation or on the merit, but in meantime police will file the charge sheet, then you have to come before the high court to challenge the entire criminal proceeding. So if you not interested at the stage of FIR, because you are very sure that you are not going to be arrested, police will not harass your family members, so there is no need to be hurry to approach the high court. Let the investigation be completed. When charge sheet will be submitted before the court, and court will take cognizance and summon you, then you challenge the entire criminal proceeding. And After challenging this proceeding, you have two options: whether you get the stay order on the basis of merit, or you get the stay order on the basis of mediation. And if you not interested in these two, at least get the order that you will want to file a discharge application before the court through counsel. So you will not, so you are not, you will not, so you it is not necessary to you move an bail application. And remember, this is a these cases are below 7 years, so you need not to take bail immediately, because a notice will be given to you by the investigating officer during the investigation. At that stage, you know no need to take the bail. Once you summoned by the trial court after taking cognizance by that court, then you challenge the court, challenge that order without applying bail before the high court, and you can take a direction by the high court that you want to move a discharge application through counsel. And when you move the discharge application, maybe it got rejected by the trial court, then that order will challenge before the honorable high court again. And in that order you can pray again. That is the last opportunity. After that you will not get opportunity. After that the trial will commence. This is the last opportunity that you can stay your criminal prosecution. So be relaxed. Be remember that in these cases you are not going to face jail. If you are a law abiding citizen, you follow the instruction given by your advocate. Whatever date may be they are fixed for several occasions, you should try to appear before it. And the most effective thing is that always try to challenge the FIR, then on later stage charge sheet along with cognizance and summoning order. Further, move the discharge application, and in these three steps you can at least delay these cases for more than 5 6 years 7 years, or we can say it, you can't imagine how much time it would take. So basically, by delaying it and uh, taking a stay order from this court, it will it will mold, we can say, maybe the emotion, maybe the energy of the opposite party, and maybe your matter gets settled. And if the court did magic to your case, that suppose that your FIR is going to be quashed, or your criminal proceeding is quashed by the high court, it is a magical for you. So be aware, have patience, and don't be in fear that you will be get arrested in these cases. Suppose that you are not challenge this prosecution and face the trial. Even if the trial court found you guilty, suppose that if the trial court found that, look, Mr. A, you cause the cruelty against your wife, so I held you convict in this case. Dear friends, the maximum punishment is 3 years. And always remember, in our criminal justice system, where person is a first time offender, if he is prosecuted first time before the court, then court is at liberty to grant you the benefit of Probation of Offender Act. If the magistrate is not granting you this benefit, you can challenge this, praying in appeal that you should be granted benefit of Probation of Offender Act. But what about conviction? Dear friends, whenever a person is convicted by the trial court with the punishment below 3 years, then they grant you again an interim bail. They will not send you the custody. So even if you got convicted in this section, trial court will not send you into the jail. Trial court grant you the interim bail. You challenge that order before the district court, before the session court, praying for the benefits of Prevention of Offender Act, and this time 99% chance is that you will get benefit of Prevention of Offender Probation of Offender Act. And again, if your appeal is dismissed, even though the session court will grant you interim bail, you again not go jail for a single day, and then you file a revision of that appeal before the high court, and again you pray for the prevention of benefits of Probation of Offenders Act, and you will get the benefits here. So what I am saying that you have three options at the initial stage. You can challenge the FIR, you can challenge the charge sheet, and you can challenge your prosecution by moving discharge application. And even if you participated into the into the trial, and trial is decided against you, you will not be in jail. So by the judgment of Satyendra Kumar Antil, when FIR is lodged, from FIR to filing of charge sheet before the competent court, you will not be arrested by the police. Once you appeared before the court, court will not send you to the jail. After the completing the whole criminal procedure, what we call trial, that you are on trial, after facing the trial, even if you hold guilty by the competent court, you will not going to be in jail. What I am saying, it might be surprise you that a court is saying that you are guilty for 3 years, but still I am saying that you will not be in jail. Again, I give you a famous example, that Sri Rahul Gandhi, leader of opposition, convicted in a case for 2 years. Remember that his membership from the parliament is suspended as per the rules, but he is not sent to the jail or behind the bar by the competent court. Why it is so? It is so because in our criminal system, it is believed that where offense is such a nature which has very serious repercussion into the society, which is punishable by less than 3 years of imprisonment, let the judgment passed by the magisterial court is scrutinized by the superior courts. So remember, no need to be in fear. The only thing is that you have to dragged into this process, unfortunately. But what I can do, what an advocate can do, what a judges can do, what a court can do is only all the aspect is that you will not sent into the jail, but you have to face all these things. You have to be very vigilant, you have to be very careful, and all this is about the matrimonial cases. So whatever the case you are facing, it may be in domestic violence act, it may be in the form of maintenance, it may be in form of FIR, it may be in form of complaint case, or it may be of divorce. Whenever you come before the court, court will protect you. So follow us. Thank you.